local realtor and community connector. And today is Life Coach Friday here on Chat with Nat. That means one of my favorite people joins us, Annette Walters from ReloWomen.com. Hi, Annette.
Hey, Natalie, you are one of my favorite people too.
That's always good when it's mutual. Otherwise, it gets awkward. You're one of my
Word.
favorite people. You, I tolerate. So I'm
Yeah,
very
those
glad.
have been some awkward conversations in my life.
Yeah, exactly. So we get to do another Life Coach Friday here where we address all kinds of different issues and topics related to life, living, relocation, moving, everything. It amazes me how so many things fall under that umbrella of moving and relocating and all of this change. And right now I'm seeing so much of it because we've got kids going back to school, we have some people going back to their offices, yet we still need to find time to manage all the hobbies we discovered during shutdowns in the pandemic. I picked up a few. um and keeping that all going from never seeing people to now having social events and things like that again, which leads us to our question today, Annette, which is, are you busy or are you overwhelmed? Dun dun dun.
Oh, that can so go either way. That can so go either way. Yeah, this as we have I mean, it's almost like we've been practicing coming out of this and changing our lives again. We practiced changing them last year, and when we go from the known into the unknown, that is where, sometimes we get these things like, I'm so busy, or, it's overwhelming and I just don't know what to do. So there's definitely a difference. And what we can do and what we're going to talk about today is how to shift from one to the other and maybe even put both of them down as you wish.
Huh. Put both of them down as you wish. Do you mean like not do either? Not be busy or
Yeah.
overwhelmed?
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about busy first. Let's talk about busy.
Okay.
So when was the last time you felt super busy?
Let's see. Let's see. Probably last week, maybe. It's
Okay.
interesting because right now I had wrapped up some closings and I was taking a little bit of time to kind of get reorganized, spend some time with my family over this last weekend. So I'm kind of coming off of not being what I would consider, really busy. I've always got something going on, but it didn't feel busy. It felt like a really nice pace. But prior to that, oh my gosh, it was, especially being in real estate, and the spring market was so busy. So there were a lot of closings in the summertime, and it just felt like one thing after another. And that felt really busy to me. Plus,
Mhm.
my family, I had family even moving into town. And again, going out again, that it just all was like, oh, I had just spent a year, just working and being home. And now
Doing
it's
my own thing.
doing my own
Yeah.
thing, and now it's, oh yeah, I get to see people again. I want to see people again. So it's probably been a good week and a half since I felt really like busy.
Mhm. And how many different aspects of life, or not necessarily topics, but aspects, is do did you have, like, if you could categorize everything and maybe the depth, how many different ones did you have and how deep were they? What made it so busy? Not for specifics, but just quantity.
I would say, my the way, because my day is each day is never really the same. And I remember there was a couple day period where I had a lot of showings going on, but I was also in the middle of negotiating a few deals. And so it was that where, it felt like I had a lot of balls in the air. And I actually work to not multitask anymore. I used to try to multitask, and I realized I do a better job when I just focus on the thing in front of me and take care of that. Um,
Mhm.
so there were just several things going on like that. And it just felt like I would get to 5, 6 o'clock and think, oh my gosh, I don't feel like I got much done, but I did. It's just, my to-do list was like this, but I really got only these many things done in the amount of time that I had. And it felt, I mean, to be
Mhm.
honest, I felt busy, but I also felt kind of overwhelmed at the same time.
Mhm. Well, and when busy really gets ingrained in our head, when we start judging it as busy, when we start to go down basically that rabbit trail, and we take a look at that to-do list, and we're like, then we have additional thoughts like, "Oh, I'm never going to get this done. Oh, it's getting to be I'm so busy." And it's like this weight starts pressing down. And that is, if we don't recognize it and start lifting that weight,
Hmm.
that it's one of those things that drives into overwhelm. And Amy, I feel you. It real estate. I One thing that a lot of people don't know on here is that I also have my real estate license. I am not active and I don't practice except for myself or family. But you are so right. Every day is not exactly the same. Even when you're doing a new transaction, everyone is different.
Hmm.
There's something that is dropped, there's something that's added, there's some new personality or thing that comes up. And that was one of the things that I really liked about real estate is that it was never the same. But when those balls are all up in the air, we're managing, we're managing, and then we think, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to drop something or I can't get to it." And that's where we go, "Oh, I'm so busy." And then it can lead to overwhelm. Now,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I was talking to one of the people that I know recently is that she was saying, "Oh, I'm so busy. I'm so busy." And I said to her, I said, "Well, how does it feel to say you're so busy? Tell me about how it feels to be busy." So now, like, how does it feel when it gets to that point when you are so busy, maybe on the precipice of overwhelm?
Well, being busy, I like because I like having
Mhm.
a lot of things going on, and more so, I like getting things done. I would
Mhm.
say, when I'm at that point where it's starting to feel more like overwhelm, that doesn't
Mhm.
feel good. That's when I start to feel some stress. That's when I start to feel some self doubt, or that's when I start to question my ability. When I start to feel, that overwhelm is, can I really handle all this? That's when the self doubt and the negative thoughts start to come in. And interestingly, that's when I go full blown into overwhelm. I'm overwhelmed by my own negative thoughts about how busy I am.
Which is something we talk about a lot here on Life Coach Friday is how our thoughts drive what we do.
Mhm.
For those of you who haven't really delved into, what overwhelm is and the effect that it has on your life, is that overwhelm is a natural process. It's like a natural place to land when we have things going on that are specifically like they're all new, they're all kind of unknown, is when this overwhelm a lot of times will set in. And the
Mhm.
reason why I call it normal is because our brains really prefer to be on autopilot. So if you have one day after the other that's, pretty much the same, we might introduce one or two new things in, it's fine, we can handle it. But when that level of new gets to be a certain height, that's when the brain starts going, wait, wait, this is danger. New equals danger. And so now we need to shut down. And so it's like your automatic habitual brain, it's going on in the background. And that's why sometimes you'll be so busy and then the overwhelm will kind of sneak up on you. And at that point, your brain goes, okay, we need to close in the walls. We need to protect ourselves. We need to shore up everything because you know what? We're not going to have enough to fight, a saber-toothed tiger, if you will, if it comes around the corner. Now, that's that primitive programming that's been with us for, forever. But it still shows up in modern day, and that's why we lead into overwhelm. And so, what I like to do with my clients is that when we have those times where we're on that edge of where, if one more thing drops, you can hear yourself say it. If one more thing is different or one more thing drops, I don't think I can take it. That's really a cue to say that that primitive brain or that habitual brain is going into overdrive, and it's about to execute a protectionistic um, uh, thing, or
Hmm.
about to make you shut down, if you will.
Hmm.
And if we can catch it right there, we can change what we're doing. Now, you said that when you think, oh, I am so busy, it has kind of a positive connotation. It's one of those things that I enjoy it. It is something that is good. It probably means that you're being productive in your mind.
It
But I
is, but
want,
interestingly, I don't like to say that I'm busy, if that makes
why?
sense. Because, and maybe this is my own thing, I feel that, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. It's a matter of what we prioritize, right? That's often how I've really looked at it. So sometimes, and this could totally be a me thing. If anyone else can relate, please chime in the comments because I'm about to get a little vulnerable. So gather round, children. It I don't like to say, even when I'm busy and I've got a lot going on and I'm in a good zone, not overwhelmed. I don't like to say that because it sounds to me like it's somehow my busyness is more important than what anyone else has going on. And I know that's a thought, and that's what I'm making it mean. And because it's like an excuse. That's what in my mind it feels like. That's why I don't like to say if I didn't get to something, I don't like to say, you know what, I didn't get to that. I've just really been busy. Because, I didn't get to it because I didn't make it a priority. I had to prioritize other things. To me, that's more of an accurate statement. And we all have the same 24 hours in a day. So if there's something I needed to get done for you and I didn't get it done, I didn't prioritize it to the level that it might be prioritized for you. If that makes sense at all, and it could just be semantics,
Mhm.
arguing about wording, but I try to be conscious of that and recognize that because for me, that's what it comes down to. You know what? Your
Mhm.
priority that day may not be my priority. My priority may not be yours. And so, I like to say, "Oh, I'm keeping busy, or I'm having a great time. I'm, got a lot going on with work, or if I'm doing something with my kids, whatever it is." And so maybe
Mhm.
I get too specific sometimes. I'm the person that if you ask me, "Hey, how's it going?" You better have 20 minutes.
'Cause you are really, really gonna tell me how it's going, and not just because I'm your life coach too.
Yeah, exactly. Because
I
I'm gonna
like
tell you.
it's an honest question, obviously. Um, so I like really what you're talking about here, because what you're saying is that you have taken the thought of, I'm so busy. And you've actually, over the last, minute or so of how where you've been talking, you've actually showed that you think about being busy a number of different ways.
Hmm.
Any place from it's motivating and productive all the way to, it's an excuse, and I don't want to make people feel like they're less than because I'm not doing their thing.
Hmm.
And so it is the same set of circumstances. It is the same to-do list, and yet you have a multitude of things that you're thinking about that thing. The
Mm.
to-do list itself, I'd like to propose, is actually neutral until you have a thought about it, and that then determines the experience that you have. Because it when we have a thought about it, like, well, I don't want to use it as an excuse, it's almost a protective type of mode. So you might be, okay, now I need to be careful, maybe be your emotion. And the steps that you take is that you choose your words very specifically to convey maybe why you didn't get to something that somebody else had at a higher priority, or that, I don't want to be seen as somebody who makes excuses, and so you don't say that you're busy in that moment, even though you may feel busy,
Mhm.
type as an emotion.
Well, do you think,
um
let me ask you this. Do you think that, because now that we're talking it through, I can really see how it's when it's almost like a little bit of a for me, it feels like a dishonesty, like I was saying, to say, oh, I didn't get to that because I've been really busy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, everybody's busy, you know. I didn't prioritize it. But that is almost, for me, falls into that self-care category. And this is a recent epiphany I've had for myself in working with you as a life coach, is that when we talk about self-care and we talk about, you know, preventing overwhelm, sometimes even though the to-do list might be like this, and I like what you said, if we look at our to-do list as being neutral, these are just things that we need to do.
Now
Sometimes,
be
we have,
careful because
okay.
you just qualified it.
Hmm.
These are things we need to do.
Okay, I guess
How
that
do you
wouldn't be
feel when you
neutral.
say we need to do? If
Pressure.
that's driving an emotion, if that's drive, then you know it's a thought as opposed to a fact.
Ah,
Whereas
okay, okay.
words written on a piece of paper, they may
Hmm.
be actions that you have put down here that 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 are you'd like to take, or there's a reason you put them down there. But the
Yeah.
words on a piece of paper, that's
Hmm.
neutral.
So that's neutral. So when I'm doing my thing and I'm going through my list and I'm feeling that, oh, I didn't get to that, I didn't get to that, and I didn't get to that. And that's where, I start to feel a bit of that overwhelm. What I found, what I
Because
used,
why? So if you
because
don't get it done, what does it mean?
then I'm making it mean that I'm disappointing somebody. I'm letting somebody else down. I'm not, performing to the level that I should. All things that, as I say them, I'm recognizing are not actually true, because,
And what do they cause you to do?
get overwhelmed and then not want to do anything. Oh, shut
Yeah.
down.
Second guess,
Yes.
ruminate. Think about feeling that and being forced into a decision. How's that decision going to be?
Oh, yeah. That would not be a good decision, because when we feel overwhelmed, or when I feel overwhelmed, I'm not seeing what my options are. I have a very limited view. And all I want is for that feeling of overwhelm to stop. And back when I used
Mhm.
to drink alcohol, that was my coping mechanism, was, to drink. And now, being sober for 4 years, I'm just kind of stuck with dealing with it,
I know
which is
this feeling thing. Do we have to
feeling my
feel?
feeling my feelings.
So
Just
sorry. So,
doesn't
so
always
sorry.
work. Yeah. So do you think then that if we keep those things that are on our to-do list as neutral, and see it as, I know for me, what helps me is when I take a step back and I go, okay, this is about prioritizing. So if it's 2 o'clock, and because I've been working really hard at not, running myself into the ground schedule wise, and, overwhelming myself with the amount of work I think I should do in one day. I've been better at managing that. I want to, I kind of triage it. I go, okay, it's 2 o'clock. What do I need to prioritize today? Because some things have a
Mhm.
time stamp on them to get done. And I know that when I do that, I go, oh, okay, it actually isn't as overwhelming as I thought it was, because
Mhm.
putting pressure on myself to get these 15 things done today was not actually necessary. No one was going to die. No one was going to, be disappointed. This whole thing, I was making it up to be that if I'm not getting to everything, that I'm, disappointing people, is just,
Mhm.
not true. Sometimes I can have a conversation and go, hey, um, you know, I'm going to have this wrapped up for you, on X day, or whatever, or changing. I've even gone and changed, if I was going to have get together with a friend, but I needed to reprioritize something. And that's kind of how I would handle it. I go, I need to
Mhm.
reprioritize this. So, can we move this to then? It's
Mhm.
like a moving around options.
And so what I'm seeing here is that, you're moving things around on your to-do list and you're moving it in a way that it's not, I have to do this or I should do this. It's more of, I get to do this or this is how I can do it. As
Mm-hmm.
opposed to putting that judgment, because if we're have to or we
Ah,
should, we immediately attach judgment when we don't get it done. So let's take one example that I had when I had a K through 12 kid. And one of the things that I would say a lot, which now I recognize as not all that productive, is that I would say things like, at 3 o'clock, my life is over. And what I meant at the time was that it was no longer my life anymore. It was my child's life and my family's life. And
Wow.
so that, so almost like I wasn't even part of any of part of life after 3 o'clock. These are my responsibilities. I'm going to take care of them. I have to take care of them. But how does that set me up mentally for being present, with my son after school? If I have to go pick him up, then how do I show up? Some days were better than others. But, there are some days where, I was kind of disappointed that I had to leave whatever that I was doing. Or
Hmm.
that, I really wanted to get this project done at home and it didn't get done. So I'm disappointed in myself. I kind of regret having, why don't I have somebody else pick him up, or, or things like that. And all it does is that it sends me into that place where I'm disconnected. I'm disconnected from him. I'm disconnected from me. And I'm not actually in a place where I can make good decisions to figure things out so that I can get it done. But by reframing it, and this is what my mentor is Brooke Castillo from the Life Coach School. She tells this story about having her littles, and she's out at the park watching them play. And, at one point she looks over them and goes, I could just leave them here. I don't have to be their mom. I don't have to stay. And she sits in that for a minute. And she really lets that sink in and goes, no, I could drop them off at relatives, social services could come get them. I don't have to do this. And when she looked at it honestly, and she didn't have the have tos associated with it, she talks about what a better mom she becomes because that is
Hmm.
no longer part of her speech. It didn't do any good. It didn't make her, show up on time or, be more present to think that she has to. And it all has to do with choosing something that you actually believe. And hers was, I enjoy my kids. Maybe not all the time, but I enjoy seeing what they're doing and how they're growing and just being part of their lives. And so our words, it may just seem like words, do make a difference. And when we're in busy, these words, if we can watch them go through in our brain, and that's the power of journaling, even get them out in front of you so that you can see them. Just like you were saying, now that I say it, it's
Hmm.
different. It makes a difference. And it can stop us from walking down that path into overwhelm.
Wow. That makes so much sense. So really having that, and that is a really amazing thing for her to share because I know I've had that thought when my kids were little. I can remember one specific day of just walking out of the house and sitting on my front step and just shutting the door behind me with the chaos that was happening because I was feeling overwhelmed. And just thinking like, oh, I could just like walk out of here right now.
Hmm.
And I did not. But you're right. It's something that we, I think, forget that it's a choice. Are the things that we choose to do in life, it's we always have a choice. It is, but putting all that responsibility, and if I'm hearing you correctly, if we can take off the shoulds or because we have to, then it becomes something that's of our choosing, right? Like
Hmm.
it's not, most of us, when you make a decision to have a child, it's going to be, a lifelong commitment and a big commitment for those first 18, 19, 20, 26 years, maybe, or whatever it is where your kids are at. And it's all this I have to. There's so much pressure as a parent and so much pressure, I think, especially for women to, I need to, I should, and putting that on us. But taking that away, you're saying, so not making that list of things we need to do neutral and
Hmm.
looking at it and seeing what our options are and what our choices are. does make it more, it simplifies it. And I remember as a parent realizing that, I don't need to be at everything. I have 3 children. It's almost physically impossible sometimes. And when I stopped beating myself up about it, when I stopped making it mean, oh, I'm just not a great mom because I don't make every single, band concert of my daughters, I made a decision when she was in marching band, and we've talked about this before, when my oldest was in high school at Minnetonka, that I said, look, you join marching band, not me. I will come to one, but that is it. Because I don't like sitting on bleachers. I don't like being outside when it's cold. I don't want to drag your brother, who then was just, really little. And at first she was like, well, what do you mean? Because, to her, it was like, well, parents come to everything. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just not doing that anymore. I'm going to pick and choose more because there's 3 of you, there's one of me, and I don't like this feeling. And I
Hmm.
started choosing, and I went to every single one of her jazz band concerts, though, because I
Hmm.
love jazz. So that I showed up every one for. And now my kids, my oldest is now 30 and she just had her first baby. And my middle one has, a 4-year-old. And they're seeing that as moms now. They're going, you can choose. So I'm really glad. For many years I was worried, like, oh my gosh, like, have I ruined my children? Was I just a crappy mom because I didn't show up to everything? And now as an adult and having adult children and seeing how their lives are, no, it actually was a really good thing. Now I'm patting myself on the back for it, because it gave them space to find their way when I wasn't always there. And it gave me space to make my own choices. So I can see what you're saying. I've done it both ways. And you're right. You're so right. It's about, what are we making it mean, and not adding all that pressure onto ourselves. Because it seems that no
Hmm.
one else is really putting that pressure on us. It's always us.
Well, and people will argue with you and say, no, 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 you don't know what my boss said. You don't know what my spouse said. You don't know this pressure that they put on me. But the thing is that, and this is something that is so powerful that I learned in life coaching, is that just like that to-do list, those people's words, those people's consequences that they're trying to hold over you are actually, again, neutral. They're words coming out of their mouth, and it doesn't mean anything until we have a thought about it. How do we want to feel about, a boss threatening our job? There's actually a multitude of ways you could think about it, especially, a lot of people are like, well, he shouldn't threaten me, or, I can't lose this job. Or it could be, oh, that's awesome. I get Cobra now, and maybe I can stay on that, because I've got this money saved up, and, I've got 6 months of cash. I'll find a job that's where they really appreciate me. I mean, it can go a multitude of ways. One of the things I want to do is just pause really quick and thank Amy Jacobs, because you had up there the comment from her. Thank you so much. Amy, you are a strong, powerful woman, and it was a blessing to walk through that with you. So thank you so much for your compliments. And Monica, good morning.
She shared some really, really good points. It's really interesting
Mhm.
how, and I think this is something everyone, but I really think as women, this is something we're doing to ourselves. We're putting on that added pressure. We're making it mean things
Mhm.
that it doesn't need to mean. And so many times where I've had things that were on my to-do list that just weren't going to get done. And I reach out to that person and go, okay, just like, turns out they don't even need it that day, or it's just not a big deal, or they're like, no, most people that we're working with or that we're living with or we're interacting with, they, especially when it comes to friends and family, they care about us and they care about you. And so when you say, hey, I'm going to need a couple more days, or I'm going to need to move this. Does that work for you? The vast majority of the time, I find that it does, because they know what it's like to be in that place when you're getting close to being overwhelmed. And one thing I want to share, this is one of my favorite things to do with friends of mine. And when I make new friends, if it's people I know that I'm going to spend time with, one thing that I like to do is I like to say, you know what? If you ever need to cancel on me, if you ever need to change plans, it is totally okay. You don't even need to tell me why. Just say, "Hey, I need to move this. It's not gonna work." I don't care if it's because you decided you wanted to stay home and watch your favorite show. There's something about that freedom of making it okay, because that's what I want, to be honest, is and I let my very close friends know that, is that, for me, I need some flexibility, with different things that are going on. Oh, Amy, she's gonna make me cry. I mean, I need that flexibility. So I want to give it to you if you can give it to me. And Annette, and if anyone's been following me on social media for a while, for 3 years, I've dealt with neurological Lyme disease and I'm doing well, but it does flare up. And sometimes when it does, I need to just kind of shut things down and put my feet up and take that time to, regroup and revamp. And my very close friends know that. And I don't even have to say it's that, because that's the other thing. I didn't want to. Sometimes you don't want to have to say. You just need someone to know, you know what, that's just not going to work today. And I've done
Mhm.
that for friends. And for a few, it took them a while to really trust that that was the truth. And they canceled. And I'm like, great, no problem. Whatever you're doing, enjoy it, be present. Don't worry about me. Don't think about what we were going to do. Just do you and do what you need to do. And it is the biggest gift that I know I'm given at times and that I want to give people and friends of mine as well. That gift of don't sweat it. Don't worry about it. I'm still going to be here. You do what you need to do.
And the interesting thing about that is that that cancellation of plans probably brings you closer because
Yeah.
it shows just care and concern on a level that, sometimes we don't have the opportunity to share or give to each one another. Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, 100%. And I think if we can do that more for each other, we'll start, especially women. We so much lean on each other and need to support each other. And my opinion is one of the biggest ways that we can support each other is by holding space for each other and letting each other know, you know what, it's all right. You didn't get to it, no problem. Or hey, you know what, let me pick your kids up for you. Let me
Hmm.
take care of that for you. Or just saying, don't worry about doing that for me. And it's just this amazing, like, and it doesn't cost anything. It's the gift that keeps on giving. And I can see how it goes along with what we're talking about today, which is being busy versus being overwhelmed. And maybe that's it. It's just being, like you said, not, beating ourselves up and making not getting to these things such a negative thing, but supporting each other at the same time.
Hmm. And ourselves.
Hmm.
I think the thing I like about your practice with your friends and giving them a way out is also encouraging them to give themselves a way out.
Hmm.
And, sometimes it's easier to do for others than it is to do for ourselves. But when we practice for others and we do it mindfully and we're present, we're a lot more likely to do it for ourselves and create that safe space without judgment. Because we don't need to judge it. We just get to decide, what are we going to do? What are we not going to do? Who do we want to have relationships with? What do we want to create in this world?
Yeah, that's the key word right there, I think, is the judgment. So maybe that's how we recognize, when we go from busy to overwhelm is, are we starting to pile judgment on top of it? Are we starting to self-doubt, question ourselves, invalidate ourselves for not getting things done? That all leads to that overwhelm. Whereas,
Hmm.
it's good to not be busy. It's also good to be busy. Or it's whatever you make it, is kind of what I'm hearing. Is it's
Hmm.
a to-do list is neutral.
So if you find yourself in busy on your road to overwhelm, take a pause, take a listen to yourself, and look inside and see what is driving that. Even write it down in front of you, read it out loud to yourself, and ask yourself, do I truly believe this? If it is, okay. But I guarantee you there are positive things that you have that you believe about those things on that to-do list or those things that you traditionally say you have to do. And it's your option as to what you want to lean into it. Because if you lean into your positive things, I get to take care of these kids. I'm so glad that even though I have to go and maybe Maybe you've got a sick parent or a sick child. I'm sad, but at the same time, I'm so grateful that I still get to be here and they're still with me for as long as I have.
I get to
It's
spend that
all
time.
equally true. What do you want to lean into? What
Mm,
experience do you want to have in any given moment? It's yours. It's yours to choose. And so I see we have come to the end of time. If any of
yeah,
this rings a bell for you and you really want to get into the nitty gritty and understand why it works, because sometimes sounds, well, that sounds really good, but I doubt it. I encourage you to hit me up for a chat. Go out to realwomen.com, click let's chat. You can get an hour of my time for free. And let's talk about it. Let's talk about your life, where you want to go, and how these things can help you today to live a better life today, tomorrow, and as long as you're here.
I love it. Great point. I love Life Coach Friday. You can find us again in 2 weeks. We do this we do it every 2 weeks, right? Every other
We do
Friday.
it every two
Yep, we do.
weeks.
Yep, every other Friday, every 2 weeks. That's the same thing. So join us, and if you didn't catch the whole live here, go ahead and watch the replay. You can watch it on the Real Women's page. You can watch it on Natalie Webster Realtor. You can watch it on multiple community pages. But yeah, tune in
And
and
if
send us
and
your
as a
suggestions.
reminder, if you're looking for an amazing coach or amazing, I was going to say coach. Well, she is a great real estate coach out there in the Southwest Minneapolis area. You need to look up Natalie Webster. She is phenomenal. She will work a system like nobody's business. She loves a great puzzle, which is what real estate is all about, and she will
Exactly.
not disappoint. And by the way, check her out on Facebook because her grandson Ollie is the bomb diggity. So there you go.
That's right. And I utilize my grandchildren in my marketing because I am not afraid of some good old fashioned shameless promotion. Well, thank you again
Entertain
for
me all the
joining us.
time.
Yes, I
Thank
look
you.
forward to again. We'll see everybody for Life Coach Friday in just a couple of weeks. All right. Thanks for joining us.